Hi, my name's Dave Node, based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I fell in love with technical theater in high school, and that led into mixing live sound at theme parks and doing lights and media at the time, which was 35mm slides. I also got to work on concerts for bands like Chicago and the B-52s. I started my first sound and lighting company back in 1986. Over the past decade and a half, I've had the privilege to work for mostly Fortune 100 end clients. I got to travel all over North America and Canada and Mexico and the Caribbean and even Hawaii. I find myself doing main screen switch, camera switch, running media servers, doing projection, all sorts of V1 positions. With a bachelor's degree in technical theater design, APS and ACE certification, Christie projection switching certifications, and recently Barco Level 2 certifications, I get to design and execute some really challenging and fun projects now. During the pandemic, I dove into the social media side of our industry. I've written articles on virtual solutions and facilitated owner sessions for Avixa. During one of my weekly Zoom panels and cocktail parties, I was reintroduced to Omar, who turned me on to AV Educate. It's been a pleasure to participate in the AV Educate Facebook page and to share my experience on the AV Tech Talks panel. I love supporting my industry colleagues with education and mentorship during these challenging times.
Hi, my name is Iris. Currently, I am part of the in-house staff at the Omni Champions Gate outside Orlando, Florida. I've done a bit of everything from theater to radio, television, live events. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in theater, and my first job was in radio, so you never know where you're going to end up in this. I'm part of this community because I believe in education, and during this time, I believe everyone can improve their knowledge to get more gigs and do more things and just be more flexible in the new whatever it is we're going into. But I appreciate you're here. I hope you learned something and have fun watch the show.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of AV Educate's AV Tech Talks. I want to thank you for being here so much with us on the AV Tech Talks panel and on Facebook and everywhere else that you're watching us. So let's go into some of these house rules. We go live to Facebook every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can get notifications by when we go live by following the AV Educate page on Facebook, and while you're at it, join the AV Educate group. We'll drop the link in the comments. If you want to join the Zoom room by texting 407-504-7690. Again, that number is 407-504-7690. This number is only used for our panelists, and you won't receive any spam text from this number, but you will receive weekly invites to the Zoom room. We're opening the rooms at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and we close the doors at 6:55. But keep in mind, panelists have to participate and have to keep their cameras on during the talk. Moving forward, due to the nature of streaming, there's a bit of a delay between when we say in our Zoom room and when it hits Facebook. So when making comments or asking questions, please provide some context. The user interface becomes more sleek, and this will lead to more meaningful engagement. Now, be the sharpshooter in the room. No questions are too basic. AV's mission is to help through knowledge. People move from stagehand to technician. Chances are that others have the same questions you do, so please ask away. At the same time, we welcome comments and input on the topic at hand. So don't hold back that great topic or that correction when one of us says something inaccurate. Now, we don't know everything. We are human. We don't claim to know everything. We may discuss or show the way we do something, and that doesn't mean it's the only way, but it's the way we found that works for one of us. If you have another way that's easier or yields better results, please share that with everybody. The whole session is a live Q&A. Our questions will be discussed, the topics for about an hour, and then we'll move to more about a round table discussion. There's no formal Q&A section. Again, the whole session is a live Q&A, so don't wait until the end to ask your questions or to make your comments. And finally, a shameless plug. Please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram so we can grow bigger and collaborate with even more amazing people just like you. That's all I got, guys. Back to the main room, back to Zoom, and back to you all in Facebook land. Again, thank you for being here, thank you for watching, and thanks for sharing.
Hello, and welcome back to AV Tech Talks. Today's December 7th. Hello, everybody. And we got a great show tonight. We're going to be talking about PTZ cameras. Kelly Foxen is going to lead us on a deep dive of PTZs. And how many guys on the panel and ladies have used PTZ cameras in productions? Jeff, I'm betting you're controlling a PTZ that's halfway around the world, probably as we speak right now. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I'll surprise you then. Actually, it's only about 1.5 miles away in my church down the street.
That's awesome.
It's one of my closest ones.
Cool. Anyone? I know Dave. I think are you on a PTZ tonight?
I am. Yeah, that's my daily driver for our Zoom meetings is a PTZ rig.
Wow, fancy. Look at you. Daily driver is a PTZ. That's
well.
Awesome.
Which one is it?
It's a Panasonic AG40.
Workhorse. Cool. Good little cameras.
Awesome. Cool. Who else is running PTZs? Anybody? Keith, you got a PTZ going? Yeah, you were talking about that on your live stream the other day. Which one was it again?
Me, Keith. Yeah, I have an old. Well, it's actually not old. It's actually a Chinese. Well, they all are, aren't they, these days? But it's an Avipass that I got off of Amazon for about $600, and I've actually used them in churches. And they do pretty well for a couple of the churches that I've used them in. Only 10 times optical zoom, but you know, it does fine for closer video, and 1080 obviously. They do have a 4K version out now as well. So, but yeah. It suits its purpose.
So I don't have I'm not using any PTZ cameras currently, but I'm actually about to submit a proposal for one of my corporate clients that's very likely going to incorporate some type of PTZ or remote cameras, and so yeah, I'm looking to push that solo producer persona to the max here. So I'm very interested in what Kelly's got to say.
Yeah, why not throw one more thing onto your plate? The way you do it, Greg, that's great. Cool. So basically, I guess, I want to hear what Kelly has to say. I'm sure we're going to get lots of questions. If you have questions on Facebook, put them in the comments on the Facebook Live. If you're on the Zoom side, please use the Q&A chat function. The Q&A function. And if you're in Facebook land and you want to get any closer to the action, I'll post that link where you can register for the Zoom webinar. And, potentially you could end up becoming a panelist if you want to be a panelist. We're always open to having more people join us. Omar or Chris, do either of you guys have anything before we kick it over to Kelly?
Real quick, I just want to say welcome from Sweden. I got a guy in Sweden out there. Thank you, Guy, for landing on a plane today and being on the terminal and listening to us while you're there getting your luggage. I appreciate that a lot for looking out. Nick, thanks for being here. I see you got 8 Panasonic PTZ cameras. Dude, that's awesome. Who else I got right now? I got anybody else from anywhere else other than Sweden? I see Puerto Rico's in the house. I see Rocco's here. Awesome. Thanks, Rocco, for being here. And looking forward to your talk coming up soon. A couple weeks, actually. Corey's here again. Thanks, Corey, for being here. And I think that's all I got as of right now. So I'll throw it over to Chris, and then we can get Kelly going.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here again and keep coming back and supporting us for what we're doing here. It's awesome. You guys keep coming back for more and more information so we can keep doing these things. And I want to say thank you to everybody that showed up to the stream and supported the kids. We did $250 so far for the kids before the end of the year, so I greatly appreciate it so far, guys.
That's great news to hear. I'm glad that had some success. You're doing a great thing, Bodie. We appreciate that. So Kelly, with that, I'm going to kick it over to you. Let's deep dive on PTZs.
Sounds good. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to watch me teach you. Hopefully you'll learn some things. So a couple objectives I'd like to hit tonight. I just want to make sure that everybody has a basic understanding of how each camera is networked back to the controller So you get a solid connection. So your camera and your controller handshake with each other. I also want to go through a little bit of the signal flow of that you can use for each camera, and some video frame rates that we usually are using in the field, along with some controller settings. There's two different menus on these controllers. There's a menu that physically has buttons on the controller, and then there's also inside of the menu, it's called an on-screen display, that's inside of that you have to hold a button, and then that gives you the ability to then access that menu. So we're gonna so that covers a little bit. Oh, also some proper handling and placement of each camera. So to give you a little background on me before we get going, I started off as a stagehand, and I worked my way up through the experience of being hired by labor companies, and then luckily, hired direct by a few companies too. So one of my first gigs that I worked on that I used RoboCams was at the it was the Grand Lakes property. I forget if it was at the JW or whatever the other hotel connected to that. But I do remember I was working for AV Nation, and we were doing this gig inside of one breakout room that was downstairs. And then all the other breakout rooms each had 3 cameras, 3 PTZs in there. And then through the back hallway, they wired, they had all these cables going back to this main control room. But that was my first experience with these cameras, and I thought, wow, this is like the perfect deal. Like, you get all the shots that you need for a pretty decent price, because you don't have to pay for an operator for each camera. And another added benefit, like what Greg Gibson had mentioned before I started speaking, was that you could be almost like a self-contained camera operator / director producer type, depending on how comfortable you are with kind of taking on multiple hats during a production. And during a production, usually I'll kind of put myself in a ringer sometimes, but I don't mind, because I like the pressure and I like working under pressure. But I like taking 3 RoboCams on a gig and having a wide, a tight in the back, and then usually a slash that's in the corner of the room. So then I can get a real nice tight and wide follow for whoever is on stage. And then I also have a perfect slash for either a moderator speaking or just another perspective to give to the audience watching. So that's also a client really likes it whenever I can come in and with a small package, and I'm able to do so much because it's just less moving parts. It's less, for some reason, they just feel very comfortable with using me as that person to do all those positions. So anyways, so that's so that completes just a little bit of why I got into doing this. And also, this is not a perspective of somebody who is very experienced in IT. I know a lot about cameras, and I know about lenses, I know about sensors, but learning how to network these cameras has almost been like a whole new world and trying to figure out. So, but if I can figure it out with very little help, I mean, they just started producing a lot of this content on YouTube to try to help teach you how to set everything up and learn stuff. So I just kind of tripped over my own feet until I figured out how to do it correctly. So anyways, I think that might be a way to relate to others as well. And some categories that you can use PTZs are sports, corporate, concerts, churches, like Jeff spoke about, live events and cooking shows. Also, watching Jeff's talk earlier on cloud production or productions using the cloud. That was helpful, because that is huge in the leap forward to using PTZs and having basically a PTZ sitting at a property and being able to type in the IP address on your computer and being able to actually, operate those cameras while you're not even on site. So that's a super awesome benefit. And then also, when I first started learning how to use the cameras, some common challenges that I had were getting the cable lengths correct, knowing exactly how long, I could run. I traditionally run I usually run a SDI cable for my signal, and then I run a Cat6 cable for my power and for my control cable. So I only have to use 2 cables for setup, which is extremely helpful. Then I don't have to find a local power supply, or if I'm on the truss, I don't have to talk to the electrician about adding in another, just another plug, or if somebody's tapped out like on amperage on a box or whatever. So it's just extremely convenient to have that. Another thing was properly assigning IP addresses. IP addresses for the controller. The controller itself is here. Okay, this is the RP50 controller. All the products that I'll be talking about today are made by Panasonic, except my network switches. So that's just what I decided to invest into, and it's worked great for me. So yeah, here's my controller that I use, and then I have one that's plugged into some other cameras that I'll be using to operate throughout the night. And so with the way that I run it, you'll need your controller, and then you'll need the camera. The camera that we're talking about today is the Panasonic UE70, which is the 4K model of whoever, I think it was Jeff that was talking about using the HE40. But this has a 2/3 inch sensor, but it's a 4K sensor. So I feel like that it just looks better than the same sensor, but non 4K. And then also on the back here, you have your connections. So you have your SDI out, and then Genlock. This is your RS422 port, and this is your link port here for your network connection. Now, when you're running PoE, you only plug into the link port. This port on this side, although it looks the same, it's an RJ45 connection, but it is not rated for power. So you can actually burn out the port if you plug it in. If you're running PoE down the Cat6 cable, you can burn out the RS422 port. And if you are the two different ways to run these cameras is either using 2 cables, which is just the SDI and running power down the same cable as the control, or when you are using the RS422 way, then you need to run an external power, which you plug in right there. So just keep that in mind. If you ever, if you're in a situation where, you don't have a network switch, or your network switch isn't working, at the very, something that can save you is just using your power supply for your camera and just, running the 3 cables instead. So that is a situation I have run into as well. So it's always good to have, a backup in mind, just in case, the network switch could be broken, something could happen to it. You also have HDMI on the back of here. I don't really mess with this RS232C, any of that. I think that's MIDI controls. I'm not sure exactly, but I don't. I typically stick to what I need only. So,
hey Kelly, if I can, yeah, I did a show. It was a setup day, and the stagehands that were helping run video had done exactly what you were saying, and they mixed up the PoE and the control ports.
Yeah.
And they burnt out 3 PTZ cameras. Thankfully, it was the setup day, and we were able to get 3 more down there. And it was the first time that this company I was working for had tried. They were like, oh, we just want to run PoE, and instead of having to run extension cords and the wall wart and power it, they went right back to powering it with extension cords and wall warts.
So let me ask you, did it burn out the camera itself, or were the cameras still usable after the port was burnt out?
They were not. They had to bring 3 new cameras down.
Oh wow. Well, that's
Now I wasn't on that team, so I didn't do any of the troubleshooting, but I know that it was not a happy day for the video guys. I was audio on that particular show, but
I mean, some days, even when you don't have a situation like that, using PTZs, especially with people that still have some learning to do, they it can be a stressful situation. You'll see somebody sit there for hours on end trying to figure out how to get connectivity. and it's weird. Sometimes it's weird. I've plugged in the right cables to the right connections, had everything correct, the right cable lengths and everything. And there's just sometimes a moment where the controller's not lit up yet, and you don't realize that if you waited like 5 more seconds, the correct light would pop on. But you're kind of frantic, so you're just like, oh, let me go and replug, or let me power, restart the power or something. So you do all these things that, I don't know, just using PTZs needs patience, and if you don't have it, you just need to learn that they're kind of a finicky thing, because you're dealing with these cameras. They not only do they transmit signal, but they also encode signal. I mean, this is like a mini computer attached to a camera, and inside of here is, I could easily take off this plastic housing, but, there's gears, there's plastic gears, there's rubber that moves these gears. And, there's a lot going on in these little things. And also this camera alone, just this little baby here was $5,000. And this isn't a cinema grade camera. This is just a regular 4K PTZ. So, these do cost some money. So, but I certainly love using them. I love the idea of using robotics for I don't know, just moving stuff up and down to where you can control it remotely. So, and my passion is videography and photography. So to be able to use them for gigs and just be my own camera guy for myself, for my own gigs, just seems like the perfect deal. So, well, I want to talk, if anybody has any questions too, go ahead and just stop me. Otherwise I'll just keep rambling.
So we did get a question on Facebook. Victor had asked, do those have NDI capabilities? Those particular ones?
Yeah. So yes, there's different models. This model itself is, it is not NDI enabled, but it does have the capability to be NDI enabled with just a $300. I think you'd have to pay for the license, the NDI license on the Panasonic website. But yes, this particular model, this UE70, does have the ability to have the NDI. Also, you can purchase this same camera, and then right here it will say Panasonic 4K NDI. There's 2 other letters after that I forget. But anyways, it will, you purchase it and it will already have it enabled. Which NDI, we'll go ahead and discuss that since it came up. So there's some pros and cons to using NDI, and then there's also classes that you can take so you can understand more about NDI as well. So which is nice because it's a newer technology. And but in NDI, which stands for Network Device Interface, is that correct? Can anybody make sure that
you are correct? Give him a star, Will. Give him a star, Ed.
Good. All right. That was off the top of my head, but awesome. So that enables you to do, well, one of the awesome capabilities is that you can run your power, your control, your video signal, audio, and tally over one cable. So there is a little bit of a video delay on, I think it's like 11 frames when you're using NDI, but maybe over time they'll be able to fix that so it's not as not as slow.
Just to jump in, that's only on certain cameras and certain manufacturers, and it's more like 5 frames, 5 or 6.
Even better.
Yeah, but NDI, it's a thing of NDI HX, which is a high compression protocol. Okay. So it has to compress it before it can send it. But it is just to those cameras that are NDI HX. The bird dogs that are full NDI are not susceptible to the same kind of delay.
Which Bird Dog, that's another company that has out. Their company, they have Bird Dog is basically like the housing and the control of the camera, and that's made by Bird Dog. But they use the Sony sensor, which is a 1-inch sensor, which is freaking awesome because 1-inch sensor compared to the 2/3-inch sensor, this looks like a postage stamp compared to a much larger sensor. But anyways, that gives you better dynamic range in your image. It gives you better low light quality capabilities. And it just, when you can tell the difference when you see it, it just looks real clean. Panasonic does make a PTZ with a 1-inch sensor. That one is actually $10,000, but that one's called the UE150. I was using the UE150 whenever, most recently in the NBA bubble, when it was over at the ESPN Wild World of Sports. And they were using those UE150s for game footage, for behind where they would do the referees were sitting, whenever the ref would come over to the glass and he would speak to the sideline officials or whatever that were sitting in the chairs, or when they were doing replays, they would use that camera would be for that perspective. And they would also use it for on the side to show like a side perspective when the teams would do huddles as well. But the quality is like so good. And also it has a 20x lens on there, but I believe with the extended range capability, when you're in 4K mode, I think you can get like a 30x throw on that camera, which is so awesome. And then they also have HDR enabled too. So, that high dynamic range for broadcast, which to break down the science of that, it's almost like putting like two signals, like video signal right now is kind of like this, but it's like having like two of the same signals, like side by side, I think. Can anybody maybe correct me on that? Is that how the basics of, well, not really the basics, but like.
HDR just means your brights can be brighter and your darks can be darker in the spectrum.
But when it's sending the video signal, like I know that like 1080i is like a 1.3 gig signal. Is HDR, is that a higher gigabyte signal?
No, I think they just put a curve on it, sort of like a audio compression curve.
Okay.
So that it's like log gamma on a cinema camera. So they capture more and then they unpack it later.
Okay.
With a gamma curve.
Okay. All right. Very good. And so I had a friend who took the NDI class, just to jump back to NDI real quick. And I asked him to give me some pros and cons of NDI. So I'll just read them off to you right here. Pros would be very accessible to new adopters, lots of software, no need for hardware in lots of cases. Managed switches are recommended, but not required. NDI HX is great for low light bandwidth applications, and great for remote operator applications as well. Some cons would be certain features are limited to NewTek products only, which NewTek has paired with Panasonic to help create the NDI available to them, but they are a separate company. You can't use UHD or HDR content with running over NDI as well. So there you go. So we're going to jump back to cabling.
Sorry, Kelly, while we're still on NDI for just 1 second, we had a follow-up question, which I believe they're asking about those Panasonic cameras you were talking about earlier. Randy want to know, are those NDI licenses a one-time purchase or an annual subscription?
One-time purchase, luckily.
Cool.
Yes. So
I would like to interject something, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely recommend NDI on managed switches. You definitely want to set up quality of service. Otherwise, depending on the network, you may have some major issues. So I would definitely recommend managed switches.
Okay. Very good. All right. So cabling. So I use a 75 ohm SDI cable. If you're running cables these days, you should be using 75 ohm with the BNC connection. And it's so that gives me, so I can run 1080i for 300 feet down a 75 ohm 3G cable without getting any dropouts. And so what I'll do sometimes is I have like, repeater switches that will repeat the video signal once I get to that 300 feet. And I also have a network switch, which should also give me extended length on my Cat6 cable. So what I'll do, it's kind of, I know it sounds like guerrilla video style, but it works for me. So I'll take like a few network switches, and then I'll take some SDI network or video repeaters, and I'll kind of stack them up depending on how many I have. what are they called? DAs.
DAs.
Yeah. And so I'll like look at the plot, and I'll decide where my 300 feet is going to stop at, and then I'll put my little chunk of DAs and network switches there, one for each camera. And then whenever I get to that point, it'll just give me like an extra boost of maybe like 100 feet or 200 feet. So then, I can make it for like a longer range setup. And that's been, the range from behind the curtain where usually I'm sitting to where a regular camera position is usually way over 300 feet. So that's almost what I do standard on every gig.
Kelly, just to ask, have you thought about converting over to fiber and using fiber converters for that?
Yes, I have actually. I was kind of in the process of working out all the bugs through my, I finally achieved the point where I was getting gigs on a regular basis for this equipment that I've been investing in for the past 3 or 4 years. And so I kind of didn't know what I didn't know at first, but then over time I was able to figure out what the best way was and like the easiest way was. And especially whenever I was working with the NBA, I was like, fiber is the way to go next time. I need to get fiber because this would save my life. I
highly recommend it. We've been on fiber for 8 or 9 years, and just you can't even think about going back. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
1,000 foot, 2,000 foot, I don't care. Just run the cable.
Now with PoE and stuff like.
All right, so then at some point you break out the fiber to run short copper. So you may run copper, say 50 to 100 foot or something like that. That would be that last link with PoE. So you run fiber to, well, you can do video in fiber, video over fiber, or network over fiber, or both. So we use a quad fiber, so 4 fibers in it. 2 of those are for video, and 2 of those can be for network. And so then once it gets close enough to the stage or close enough to the destination, then we flip it back to a copper element at that point. Sometimes it may be 10 feet, like right underneath the camera on a box next to the camera or something like that. So then we flip the fiber over. So that way you can get that really long distance if you need it, but you still have the beauty of either one cable if you're doing NDI cameras with power over Ethernet and everything like that, or just 2 short cables. And for making those long runs, man, I was cringing thinking about DAs again. It's been so long. Let me put it this way: the last time I ran DAs, they were RGB HV. You probably don't even know what that is. So it was a 5-wire, and I can't think again about that.
Yeah. And the great thing about that solution with fiber is you can also just run it to the closest outlet to your camera, power outlet, and just drop your fiber infrastructure and converters there, and then you don't need any power at the camera.
And here's the other thing: 0 ground loops. It's impossible to have a ground loop over fiber. Impossible.
Well, can you explain to people that don't know what a ground loop is?
Next session, Ed.
All right.
Yeah, and Victor asked, you're using SDI DAs. Which one are you using, Kelly? Even though I know we just talked about fiber being the way to go. In this kind of setup, what are you using?
So I either use the Aja 8-port DA, or even the monoprice ones have worked too, and those ones are pretty cheap, but I almost feel like the Ajas have more dependability just because they're, more expensive. But, like I said before, I have started here and almost like recreated the wheel in a certain way. I could have maybe reached out for more help at an earlier point in my career, but I just was doing what I was doing with my head down. And then these are the solutions I've found to be what's been helpful. But, as I meet more people that are involved in this community, they kind of help me, figure out like a little bit improvements, here and there, and show me what I don't know. So that's like that shows the true value of being a part of something like this. So.
Great. And just so we're clear too, those are going to be reclocking DAs. I know Aja makes some that aren't, and I think you said you're doing 1080i for the most part.
Yes.
But Aja also makes, I don't know if they discontinued them, but there are some that are not 3G, and then there's 3G. So depending on what resolution you're doing, you want to make sure that if you're doing 3G, if you're doing 1080p 60 or 1080p 5994, non-interlaced, you're going to want a 3G reclocking DA for something like that.
So when you're using 1080p, also, do you get decreased range because it's a higher output of video signal? So is that only 150 feet compared to 300 feet with a 1080i?
That starts to depend on your cable. I know, Jeff.
Yeah,
I
depends on your cable.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely depends on your cable.
It's probably closer to 225 on good cable.
I've
cheap
done
cable
12G, 250 feet with 12G.
that's
Oh,
If
wow.
you got good cable.
Yeah, I've pushed the limits of 3G. I've built SDI cables that were 330 feet, 100 meters, and I've had different experience with different converters that were able to clock sync and some that weren't. Decimators always seem to be able to push and then resync on the far end. I'd say some of the other micro converters that are out there maybe did not. So
a lot of them that use magic don't necessarily work.
Yeah, that magic sometimes falls short.
Especially when your input card and your 300 plus feet on the end and your input card doesn't see it. Yeah, the magic fails.
Well, all right. Well, good to know. So I'm going to go into a little bit more info about the controller aspect. I have two PTZs set up right now. So Pepper, go ahead and switch me over to the wide shot real quick. I've got an assistant here that's helping me. He also might be related to me.
I need one of those.
Yeah. So, well, real quick, I'll show you back on this other camera real quick. This right here is extremely helpful in the field. So this is what I'll use if they're not mounted on tripods. I'll use this. This is a camera plate, and this is a mega gripping arm that you can connect to the truss. So loosen this magic part up, and it all moves around. So then, but whenever I do hang a camera from the truss, depending on where the client wants it, I always need to have a bubble level with me. So I make sure that I get a nice level on the camera itself, which is key to setting up these cameras too, is making sure that they are level, because once they're set, the idea is to not go close to them again. Usually if they're in the truss, you got to get a lift out there, or, just make sure that you're doing all your due diligence on each camera throughout the setup, because later on you will be kicking yourself if you set that up and you didn't do something correctly, because it was useless. If you can't use the shot because it's tilted, or because it didn't loosen a knob all the way, so it's kind of a change in thinking a little bit from a traditional style of running cameras and setting up as well. So, all right, track me over, Pepper. All right, so over here, go ahead and switch over to this camera here. All right, so now we're here at the controller. Can everybody still hear me correctly? I got the microphone turned. Okay, so these, if you can just think of it as, two different, think of there being like an imaginary line right here. This is your camera selection area here, is these lights 1 through 5 here. And this upper portion here is a separate menu, okay? But to access the menu, you have to press, so you have this menu button here that has a rectangle around it. Well, the menu is not activated until you press that button and you activate that menu. All your lights went away here because all these lights were preset camera movements, okay? So this is a double function menu, and the way to access the menu is by activating the menu. And to get out of the menu, you have to deactivate the menu. But if you were in a jam and you activate this menu and then you try to go to a preset, you will become the most frustrated person in the world, because there's no way to access the preset, even though that's the same button as your preset 1, if that menu is activated. So then you also want to make sure that you're deleting. So there's there's a way that you can store each preset, and there's a way that you can delete each preset. And deleting each preset is important so you don't accidentally hit a preset that you have stored for a camera scene that is now over, because then your camera will do something that you don't want it to do. And if it's live, you'll be very regretful. Also to store, so we're just going to go across, we're just going to go ahead and delete all these presets just to start from a base. Okay. To store, you need to deactivate delete, and then you need to activate store. Okay. After you store, use your zoom rocker to move whatever camera to move it into position. This here is your PTZ, your controller. So you can use your pan and your tilt just by moving this controller here. Okay. Another thing right here is your iris, not iris that's on the call, but camera iris. So you can.
That joke again.
Sorry, iris.
Don't get to turn off auto.
Yeah. So you want to turn off auto because sometimes it doesn't it gets it close, but sometimes, it may not be exactly what you want, especially if you're using a vector scope, or a histogram. That will give you the proper exposure. So you don't really want to rely on the camera itself to give you the proper exposure. You want to rely on a proper, video graph. So then whether histogram or, I guess the histogram is for the exposure. But so anyways, to get back into storing presets, so you need to activate the store button and then hold that until you see it here, and it says store preset store complete. Okay, so real quick to give you an idea of what a real life situation that you would use that preset would be. So say you have, this is a personal example. I had for a travel show at the Champions Gate Omni, there was 2 cameras in the back, one is the slash, and I was able to save a preset on my slash camera, okay, as a full wide, okay, and my preset was set to where when it got to stage, stage tight, where I had the stage on each part of the frame is where it would stop. Okay. So as I activate the preset and I had it in the slowest setting that it would go in, I was able to start that preset, start it. And as it's going, I was able to then switch over to another camera, find the person on stage, get a tight of them on stage, and then click as soon as it got to the right position, close to the right position, I was able to dissolve to my other camera. You're kind of using one hand for your switcher and your other hand for your PTZ controller. But I mean, with a little practice, it's doable and it's not that bad. But I was able to do a seamless switch between the camera that was in motion to the camera that I was tracking. So then I track the person on stage, and then I have my wide shot that I could easily cut to in case if I need to, in case the person gets too far out of my frame and I need to find them again. But as you get more familiar with these controllers, you'll understand very short amount of delay between, activate, between moving this here, you'll notice it's not immediate, like it's just off by like a millisecond or something. But once you kind of get the feel for that, it's just a matter of, the human kind of morphing into the controlling the machine kind of thing. Like sometimes, people can especially like a jib guy, he is he is one with the jib. So he knows exactly how to move everything. And just through practice, you kind of get a feel for it. Anyways, we'll jump back over to the controller. I want to give you some, I want to go through the settings on the controller just to give you an idea. So, this here, so here you have your, we're gonna deactivate the store because we're done with presets. Okay, we're gonna activate the menu because we want to go through the menu real quick. All right. So the gain and pedestal is on option 1. Okay. With these knobs here, this is the F1, F2. So these two correlate to these two knobs. That's the F1 knob, that's the F2 knob. To change the pedestal, you move the F2 knob. Change the gain is the F1 knob. You don't really need to write that down because it's pretty obvious when you see it on the controller, but anyways, so you know, the gain on here, there'll be some gigs where I'll be running at like 3 dB gain and it will have no noise. Like it'll still look great on the image and no loss of quality. And that's still, I mean, that's kind of high, you know, sometimes 3 dB, sometimes even 6 dB, depending on, you know, what I'm getting at. Also, some of the clients, they need the shot. So sometimes you got to crank it up a little bit and you just, you know, might be a little grainy, but depending on the situation, you know. Anyways, so we'll go over to R and B gain. So your red and blue, just to give you a little bit more red and blue gain, not pedestal, but gain. And then number 3 is your red and blue pedestal. Number 4, automatic white balance and automatic black balance. So the F1 knob enables you to change to a couple different settings here. You know, your variable white balance, your automatic tracking white balance, your, you know, you can have your preset positions or preset white balances already. And then number 5 is your shutter. Number 6, your detail. I like to run it on high. You know, that's just a personal preference. I think I don't think it makes the camera look grainy at all whenever it's on high. So then you have your scene selection here on number 7. Number 8 is your camera. So this is where it gets kind of tricky. Okay, here is you're in a menu, okay, which is the camera menu 8. But now has taken you to a sub menu. And in that sub menu gives you multiple different options. So you have group, power, tally, color temp, crop, you know, gain. So you have all these settings here to go through. And then, so also same thing with 9 gives you're in another sub menu. And then number 10, okay, more sub menu here. So the number 10 will help you out whenever so when you plug in your camera, it'll help you with, hold on, let me switch back over to my camera. Getting a little bit ahead of myself. You have to make sure that you're telling your controller, okay, I'm plugging into you. I'm telling you that you need to search for a network connection, or I'm telling you that you need to search for a serial connection. So you have to tell the controller which one you're going for. And without that, you'll have everything plugged in, but you will not have any green lights on your camera because you got to tell the controller what it's looking for. So like I said, more aspects than just running, you know, regular setup and operation of a PTZ. So we're already in network because we're using network. And any questions, by the way, I can pause and do a little bit deeper dive explanation of if anybody has any questions.
I'll just mention, you talked about presets. Sorry, I know I'm kind of going back.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I did a show where I was not supposed to be the PTZ op, but ended up that's what I was doing, on top of switching and doing a bunch of other stuff. And the project manager was mostly a lighting person, and we were in a space with a lot of natural light coming in during the day.
Yeah.
That I knew was going to disappear. And we talked about white balance, and instead of using auto white balance, I white balance the cameras myself. And she was convinced that it was too cold. It's too cold. It's too cold. And I said, well, listen, the lighting's going to change, and I know that the lights that they're using are going to make everything more yellow. So what I ended up doing is the 4 shots that I needed to frame up, I set the shots, and what I did is I set on the top row, I would set the shot, and then on the bottom row, I'd set the shot with the color balance I wanted. So I gave her the color balance on top she wanted, and then the color balance I wanted. And then right before the whole show went live, I was able to show her what those look like without, having to refocus and zoom or anything. Mm-hmm. So it was just the only change between the two was the white balance. We ended up going with my white balance, but it was something for really quick and fast to be able to pop back and forth and not have to jump into those menus to try to fix it on the fly.
So you had one as white balance A and then one as white balance B. Okay.
Yep. And I put it, I did the buttons one on top of the other. That way it was, I knew camera shot one was this zoom with, you know, the 5600 color balance, you know, white balance. And then, you know, 3200 is actually what we needed.
Also with the presets too, there's different modes in that you can switch to inside of the on-screen display menu. That those modes allow you to either you basically tell the camera how much data you want it to save. You can tell it, do you want it to save pan, tilt, and zoom position, or do you want it to save pan, tilt, zoom, you know, white balance? Because you can save whatever white balance it has set for whatever, you know, zoomed into whatever, you know, but there's just different modes that you can, there's mode A, mode B, mode C, that you can, depending on what data you need saved for that particular scene. But for the most part, I like to have all of my video engineering controls kind of like separate from the preset aspect. I just want the movement of the lens to be saved, you know, only. So I have it in mode C.
Nice.
So that works the best for me.
Yeah, there was no engineering. So that was, I had what I had. Randy did ask for the Panasonic switcher that was shown, does it have a web interface for programming it, or does it have to be done manually?
Okay. So not
to get too far off topic, but I know we won't come back to it. So
no, so that the controller, it's not, I wouldn't normally correct you if it didn't matter, but it's a controller, not a switcher, because if you think it's a switcher, you'll be missing a piece of gear when you're on site, because it's not a switcher. But it does, it has a program that comes with it that Panasonic created called the Easy IP program, and it comes on a disc, but you can also get it offline. But there's no web interface that allows you to actually use the computer to control the box, but it does allow you to easily find, there's basically, it gives you a list of all your cameras connected to that controller, and it gives you a list of what all their IP addresses are. So then you can change them, you can write them down if other people need to access them, and you can get just a better control of your IP addresses using the program. But no, there's not actually a web interface GUI that you can use on the laptop to control the controller.
Not to control the controller, but you actually can control the cameras from their direct IP address for sure.
Yeah, there is a web there is a computer. The way that you can control the cameras is not just with the controller, but you can also use a laptop to control it. So I guess you're not technically tapping into the controller. You have a separate program that's running on the PC to control the PTZ. So, and maybe with combination between having that program open on your laptop, connected with a network cable to the controller, you know, maybe that would somehow, you could figure out a way that could unlock, you know, an easier way to navigate settings, you know, so then maybe you don't have to jump right into a on-screen display menu.
That's exactly what we ended up having to do with the UE150s on a recent gig, because the software we were using from our big heads, our Mark Roberts Robotics, they actually can control the UE150s, but there was a bug in the latest version that we got that didn't have any iris control, which we were outdoors, so that sucked. So we ended up using a laptop with just the UE150 pages up. So it's basically a web page that's served from the camera itself. So then that way we could actually just touch over there and say, okay, you either go to presets or go to iris levels, or just straight up turn on and off auto iris and stuff. But it worked, but it's definitely clunky whenever you're doing presets. Like you're saying, we were basically having to say presets without iris. Yeah. And then we'd have another device over here that we had to reach over to kick the iris, and that was a pain. So it's a lot better when it's all together.
Yeah, and I think also like as technology advances, as the quality of each one of these cameras evolves, and as things just start to move towards this remote production world, which is the most, I mean, there's so many benefits. You know, it's convenient, it's easy to control. I mean, I find it massively interesting. I know that there's another company that Jeff mentioned before called Scarho. Is that how you pronounce that name?
Scarhoy.
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 So Scarhoy, I can't tell you how it's spelled, but they produce all these devices that are basically just network enabled devices, but they allow you to do so many things. Like they allow you to control the camera like as it's almost like a game controller. You know, they have a very small mini controller, PTZ controller. They've got video switchers that are mixed with PTZ controllers. They have like a whole array of equipment that is compatible with this Panasonic gear. And I mean, I think sometimes that's a third party, you know, that you would be using their controller to control this same device. But I sometimes look at that and I think that those are actually something that I would prefer to use because it almost seems like you have more functionality. You got these little windows above each button that tell you what the button actually is doing. It's not like I think that's my, I don't know, red blue controller or whatever, you know. So I think they're very interesting and I'd like to purchase some just to try them out, see how they work.
We've been using them for quite a while, and it's a substantial difference in quality whenever it's something that's more ergonomically designed. Also, it's like that RP50 that you have. I can't stand that little thing because the joysticks, I feel like I'm going to break them.
Yeah.
Now the 150s that we've used the larger controller with that LED screen. That's a pretty sweet controller.
Yeah, I love the fact that it has the way for you to see the video that's out of your camera on the controller itself, because those is it the AW RP50 or RP150 controller, and it has a little display screen. Hey Pepper, could you zoom into this? Give me a shot of just the VR50 HD. So there's actually, I know we have very little time left, but I want to show you just my full setup. I use this VR50 HD screen. I actually have two switchers. I use either the Blackmagic 4K ATEM, which has 8 inputs. That's an amazing switcher. I love it. I love having the transition bar. There's a lot of great things, but sometimes I almost feel like it's a little bit overkill. And I have to use a preview monitor, so it means I have to carry a separate piece of equipment with me, which for like an on-the-go setup, this controller here, which allows me to get, it has a display screen. This is touch screen here, so I can touch different, my shots. And then I have my program here. I can put a still store. Now, I've heard negative things about Roland, but I've worked with this controller like on big GSs and it's worked out great. Another amazing thing about this controller itself is that it has this right here, this 12 channels of audio. Okay, so it's an audio mixer plus a 4-channel video switcher, and it has a still store, and it has 4 SDI inputs on the back. So just, another thing is the way that you're actually able to see this is that I'm using USB 3.0 that's connected to the camera, to my laptop here. So then it encodes the signal. So I can do, a multi-switch. I could live stream and throw out, a program feed to projectors. So I could do live and program all with just one box, but it's never failed on me. I don't know if anybody else has used these boxes and have.
I'm very familiar with those Roland switchers. I worked for a company that owned a few of them, and for what they are, they're actually pretty cool. And I've thought about maybe doing a deep dive on those one day because they're very underrated. I mean, they're not cheap. They're about $6,000 for that switch. And Kelly, if you don't already know this, one day I'll tell you how you can get 3 discrete outputs from that thing. So
oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a way to get 3 separate switchable outputs from that Roland switcher. You wouldn't think it, but it can do it. But they're very useful. I do want to, while we were kind of talking about networking, a couple questions did come in. They were asking, Chuck asked, do the Panasonic need static IP, or is the discovery pretty easy for the cameras?
Say it one more time.
Do the Panasonic cameras, do they need a static IP, or is there easy discovery? So you were kind of talking about that app that can do discovery.
Yeah. So I'll just tell you, I use mostly like this auto IP setup, which is a button that's on the controller itself. Pepper, can you find auto IP on there? And then, so that allows me, basically, I just have to plug in each cable into my network switch. And then if it hasn't, basically what it's doing is it's saying like, go find them, so it then searches all the ports and it finds out wherever finds the IP address, and then it automatically assigns it to one of the ports on the controller. But sometimes if you want, your camera one to be like say it has my slash as my camera one, and I want my camera one as my camera one, then I need to look to see what the IP address it has and what it has as the other camera, and then I'll flip flop them, but just to give you a rough explanation, or anybody who doesn't know how IP works. Like an IP address is basically like, there's 3 blocks. Is it 3 or 4 blocks of numbers that's separated by a decibel? 4. Okay, so it's like if somebody explained this to me as, that first block is like saying like we're in Orlando, Florida. Okay. And the second block is saying we're on this street. And then like the last block of numbers is like the house number. So like it's able to, so you have in your mind, like don't get overwhelmed by like this whole list of numbers. Just understand that like that last little chunk of numbers is probably the only thing that you need to worry about changing, because every number leading up to that is kind of going to be the same. But you want to have like your controller as like, the first house in the block. And then you want to have your camera as like your second house in the block, third camera, third house in the block. So like in sequential order for those IP addresses. You don't want the IP address to be the same as another IP address, because you won't get connectivity to either one. They don't hop on top of each other. It just doesn't work like that. So that's, maybe like a rough explanation of how I understand IP addresses, but I'm not an IP guy.
Are they using DHCP, or it's just whatever? Is maybe Jeff or Kelly know? Is it?
You can do either.
Okay, got it. So it can allow your router to assign an IP address. Got it. That was one of the questions. And also, does the app work with all peripherals, not just the cameras and the controller for the Panasonic? Will it find other Panasonic devices?
I don't believe so, because I believe that it's just for PTZ Panasonics.
Great.
Yeah, it's actually for any Panasonic camera that's network connected. So it'll find the CX350s. It'll find we have the larger UB300s.
Yeah.
It'll find those also. That tool is like on every flash drive I own.
So any network enabled camera.
Any Panasonic, yeah, specifically.
Panasonic network enabled camera. Okay. Yeah, most of the broadcast cameras these days are all adding that network, that RJ45 connection on the back. So then it gives you the capability to just run your signal over the Ethernet cable, and for live streaming or whatever, because the cameras itself they encode the signal before it hits that cable, and then your cable can then be read by the computer for the live streaming. So that's a wonderful benefit that, it seems like all the new cameras have these days, which is super cool. Is there any more questions that were in the chat? If not, I have some other questions that, I know. Let me look. Let's see. So video signal, 3G SDI signal will do 1080p 60, 6G SDI signal will do 4K 30, 12G SDI signal will do 4K 60. Is that correct?
Yeah, more or less.
Also, when handling these cameras, you want to make sure that, like there's motors in here that's moving this, okay? And you don't really want to move this when if those motors are engaged by the control, you'll strip the gears that are in here. So you want to be really fragile, moving these cameras, because they're, like I said, it's plastic, it's not like, they got to be light, so you can't have metal gears, and anyways, so you just have to understand, that it's not a rough and tumble E&G camera that you can just kind of toss around. Well, I hope you're not tossing it around, but those seem to take a little bit more of a beating than these PTZs. The plastic housings will fall off if you drop it. But it will produce a great image. I've had the director of Encore Technologies over at the Marriott World Center. He's told me that he's put footage of my PTZs alongside of regular broadcast cameras, and he can't tell the difference in quality as long as I have a well-lit stage. The lighting is key to the performance of these cameras.
Something a lot of people don't know about the smaller ones is as they zoom, they lose light. The lens optics.
Good bringing that up. Yes, it is a variable I forget exactly.
Variable
there's
aperture.
Some technical term for
Variable
lenses
aperture.
that do that.
Yes. So yeah, as you zoom in, you'll notice your image will get darker, and it doesn't matter how much you spin that iris wheel, it won't get any lighter. So you just it's a little bit further than halfway through, but yeah, if you're at the end of your glass, luckily this camera itself does have a 20x lens, so that gives me some good throw. But it will drop off at the end. If your position is too far from your subject. So you need to think about that whenever you're setting them up too. Just because they can go that full distance, maybe you want to consider like another way to set it up just to give you a little bit more of play, because that the loss of light can't be solved during the show. There's only so much you can turn a Leco up before the presenter starts to complain or something like that. So there was some other things I wanted to discuss too. If there's any questions, I'll take those while I'm reading some questions of my own.
So Kelly, I told you at the beginning, my interest in this is pushing that solar producer thing, as far as I can, because I'm in Washington, D.C. A lot of events I go to, in my previous career as a still photographer, I did a lot of work with C-SPAN. So I used to see C-SPAN at a lot of gigs. And so C-SPAN, believe it or not, does a lot of PTZ stuff. So a lot of stuff that you see on C-SPAN is two PTZs where they'll do a camera in the back of the room, and then they'll do a wide shot off to the side that they control and, do crowd stuff, or they can get sort of that down the line shot of, of a panel. Mm-hmm. So I know, well, a lot can be done with it. I'm curious, like, where do you, when you're figuring out the solo thing and doing a gig on your own, where do you kind of like draw the line between where is it too much for me to do by myself?
Okay, so as in terms of number of cameras, I usually feel the most comfortable using 3, but no more than 3. 3 gives me enough to kind of have a backup in case if one shot didn't seem to be as effective as I thought. But any more than 3 kind of means that one almost becomes wasted, sometimes in some instances. So I would say that each operator, limit of 3 and even 2, depending on the gigs. Like I've got like a buddy named Aaron Canetta out of Las Vegas, and he's like 2 is as many as I want to do, because that otherwise it's just not as effective. And each camera needs to be like basically as if there's a camera operator. It needs to be as effective as if there's a camera operator behind each one. So more cameras doesn't mean better, So anyways, and then also being like a self-producer operator, you're selling your client on the product that you're able to produce. So no matter how much stress you're under, they might act like they care, but that's, when the show's all said and done, it doesn't matter. You blew it, and so, and I've blown it before on gigs just from not having the right preparation of knowledge, my IP address is not being the right deal. So anyways, you want to make sure you're not overloading yourself too, especially if you're selling a product, because they're purchasing the product. You might be a friendly guy and everything might be fine on show site, but they might ask for a refund. And I've had to give a half refund because my stuff didn't start working until about lunchtime of that first day, but you take these licks as you go along in this industry. It's just kind of something that you learn from and you move forward. And you don't let it bring you down. You just keep on trucking. But I really go ahead, Keith.
No, go ahead and finish. I have a question when you're done.
I just really like the idea of being a self-sustained, I'm very talented. I like putting myself in a little bit in the weeds and then being able to figure out how to get myself out to a certain extent. So I think that this, for my type of personality, is like just so perfect. Like, I love when a client says, all right, here you go, whatever you think is best, and then it really, and I'm able to actually knock it out. So it's just, I have such pride in my work whenever I'm put in that situation.
Cool. So the question I have for you is, how do you deal with lighting and LDs and that sort of thing? I mean, do you do a lot of prep ahead of time, or what happens when you get thrown into it last minute and you don't have a whole lot of control? How do you deal with flicker and things like that from LEDs? Do you even have that issue at this point with the pan tilt zoom camera?
So I've never dealt with shooting a subject that was in front of an LED wall. And I have known others that have had that situation come about. And that is not a fun situation to be in, because the cameras, depending on what cameras, like, I haven't been in the situation, so I don't know what the solution is, but I'm assuming it has something to do with, the sync rate of the cameras, or, the shutter speed, or.
Yeah, the frames per second.
Yeah, shutter speed.
Shutter speed. Okay.
And it also depends what the LED boards are putting out and what their refresh rate is, and also the pixel depth of the LED boards.
Correct. And I was specifically speaking to LED lighting.
To lighting, yeah. Never experienced any problems with any flickering on LED Lecos. So that, thank God.
The early Chauves, when they first came out, especially their uplights, the those little PARs, the Colorados, yeah, they did not refresh fast enough, and it would look like little strobe lights on video, but you couldn't see it in person. But they seem to have fixed that, and I think before they came out with the Eco line.
And I know in their second run or second update, whatever it was, to the Colorados, they definitely fixed that issue. And I'm not a light guy by any means, but I'm audio and video suddenly. I've seen some videos recently, and I'm assuming that some of the ones that I've seen were using those older Chauvet or some older technology lights that were or fixtures that were causing that issue with strobe effect, which is awful.
Yeah. Are we going to say something, Dave?
I shoot a lot in front of big LED walls, probably a couple dozen shows a year. And yeah, the pan tilt cameras, of this era, the conference size, like we're talking about, do not hold up unless the person's at least 12, 15 feet in front of the wall. Uh-huh. You just don't have the depth of field. And so you get these moire patterns and the small chips, and the brightness coming off the LED wall almost always puts them in silhouette. So you can't get enough light on their face on most LED walls.
So Omar, you got something?
Yeah, I just want to add real quick or take us back a little bit here. You know, we have a lot of super high-end guys here on the engineering side, but for the Facebook community who may not work with PTZs too much, and I open this to everybody here on the panel that's with us. Can you guys tell me, and Kelly, I'll let you go first, some of the unique situations where PTZ cameras come in handy as far as location and placing wise? And an example I can give you is I did an install in Key West, and most of my PTZ cameras have been primarily for installations and churches, not too much on the corporate side. So I'm sure the stuff you did for the sports bubble that you were just in was amazing to do in itself. But one of the cool angles we got from doing a PTZ camera, this was 4 cameras for this one, but one of the cool ones that I liked was we were above the essentially the countertop of the kitchen. So we were to take a shot of an aerial look of him on the counter and what he was doing. And this shot wasn't originally planned of in the original design. And when we did this, the chef began to, after a couple demo runs, began to prep up his table for that shot, and it just gave it this whole other dimension. Are there any other scenarios where, Kelly, you've had where the PTZs were just able to get into a spot that a regular ENG camera couldn't have gotten into? And does anybody else have stories like that they can tell the community about how these PTZ cameras, they can just get into these spots and be used on, non-traditional, I don't want to call them tripods, but I've used them on like a 3-shot where I didn't have enough distance in this ballroom. I had to get really close with it, but I put it with a little adapter on it on a little microphone stand. And it didn't bother anybody. It wasn't anybody's way. The shots came out great. No one complained about them. So I've wondered if you guys have any similar stories where you just use these cameras in a unique way to get a shot that you couldn't have gotten any other way.
I've got some photos if I can slide share.
Yeah,
if you want to get.
Go ahead and get your slide share going on, Dave. I'll go ahead and share a story about cooking shows especially. I love using the PTZs for cooking shows because they give you the ability to put on just a different look. I did a cooking show for Tupperware. I'm sure many have actually probably worked on the same Tupperware show in past years, but I was able to do a wonderful image of this down over elevated OTS shot of the people cooking. So I got all the action, but I wasn't like the awkward camera guy over the shoulder. I was able to give the elevation because it was in the truss, and I was able to see what was going on. Like there was a microwave that was, I had food. I could see the timer that was counting down on the clock on the timer of the microwave. So I had one of my cameras pointed on that microwave. So whenever the subject, which my other, the main camera was tracking the subject, as soon as I saw the countdown go to 3, 2, 1, I switched over to that PTZ, and I was able to get a shot of that micro of that food, hitting that clock, and then the subject, pulling it out of the microwave and just, cutting then back to the main shot. So it was like a perfect perspective, right there on time. And you just wouldn't have had that with a standard camera that you wouldn't have the control of it.
Yeah, I assume you guys can see my slide share. This is a booth for Electrolux Major Appliances at the Kitchen and Bath Show in Vegas.
Yeah.
So we actually cut a hole in their Scenic and put a little PTZ. This is a Panasonic HU40. And then here, there were 2 more out here. We hadn't mounted this one yet.
Yeah.
And then directly above us was a 15 by 20 foot double-sided LED wall tilted down slightly. So everyone for 6 booths could watch the cooking demos, and then we cut it, the cooking demos. So that's one unique option. This is the Atlantic Festival, one of those Washington, D.C. things, lots of LED walls. They didn't want to do seat kills.
Okay.
They didn't want to do any more seat kills than possible. Because it's a pretty small theater. It's the Shakespeare Theater.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let me find the right. That was backstage. And so this is our solution. We did 1 lighting tree and we mounted 3 PTZs on it.
Uh-huh.
So you only had to kill 2 seats behind it. Everyone else could look around this tree. So this is 2 of the 30X Panasonics, and this is the 3-chip. I think it's a 17X. And what I did, I cut the entire show with PTZs, with 5 PTZs. And we had guests like Hillary Clinton and Arnold Schwarzenegger on it. And it was all panels, like a sit-down TED Talk almost.
Yeah.
And I'll just So this was the slash shot off to one side of the stage. And this was the tight shot I could get from that position mid-house, the wide shot. And they're all on a screen directly above them.
Okay.
Just above their heads.
Oh, the IMAX shots were.
Yeah, it was all IMAG, but then it also went to screens.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, it's this page. So it was on the IMAG directly above them.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, we had Yo-Yo Ma playing, and someone here's the 4K
That's a
150.
Yeah, as you can see, anybody who's watching the screen share, see the portion, the support arm that's connected to the base and then connected to the barrel right there. They've beefed up that support arm for these newer models. Some of the older models, they have a little bit of the barrel of that lens causes a metal bracket that's attached to that arm. It causes a little bit of a bend, which then causes the camera shot to then, kind of like.
I actually have an HE 130. That tried to commit suicide one time in the back of our tour bus.
No way.
It jumped off the top bunk all by itself. And that 130 has been bent since that point. And we've done our best. I've bent that arm back probably 6 times. My son and I operated on recently to put it in one of our church installs for my church because I was giving it to him. It was an $8,000 camera. Yeah. So I hated for it but the whole time it was this. Every time you'd use it. So then whenever you would pan, it would do this.
Yeah.
I had a guy build
so terrible
remote zoom kits. He took little 3-space SKB racks and mounted those cameras sideways in them with a monitor above them. So you could just set the rack sideways on your desk and it had the PTZ camera, a little monitor above it. And the shipper dropped it, bowed the sides of the rack out and then snapped it off the base. And that was a heartbreaker because that's a $10,000 camera.
So Dave, is that a new thing that somebody's doing, or was that something that people have already done in the past?
The remote kits?
Yes.
He started building them about a month and a half ago. He's got 4 of them.
Is that Antagonist Camera? Is that?
No, it's a company. It's Wheelhouse Media in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Because there's these ones called Cinebot Solos. And it's basically exactly what you just mentioned. It's a kit that has, a monitor, a PTZ inside. It probably has some sort of computer for it able to talk back, via Ethernet cable to the, whoever's going to control it, which would be, me. And then they also have like a ring light in there as well. So then you can, have just this all-in-one package shipped to you, sit on your desk, and you just sit there. And you just tell it somebody else is operating it for you, and it seems like a really, really slick package. But
there's a company in England that makes one. I forget the name of it, and it's got a little LED strip on either side of the monitor that gives you a little face illumination, and they can push back teleprompter feed or return video or your own shot so that you can frame it, see it, and then they'll push you, whatever multi-view back. And it's just a Cat 5 right into it. This guy, he had the kit with the camera and the monitor, and then he had another SKB rack that set on the floor with 3 Cat 5s that were color coded, and it had a Behringer X32, so he had a remote mic pre and the switch and all that phoned home.
Yeah, since we're talking about kits, I want to show you real quick the kit that I built for myself. This right here is just a 6RU gator case. And it's the rotomolded plastic here. I put a 1RU drawer here, which then I also Velcroed my controller to the drawer. There's a utility shelf on the back side, which houses, I have 2 network switches that are on the back portion here. And then I have this 3RU drawer, which holds my Atomos Ninja Flame or Shogun Flame, which is the SDI 4K recording monitor. But you can also put battery power here, and you can use it as a test monitor for your cameras. So if you're out in the field and you're not getting control back to your station, you can take a small cable, a small little patch SDI cable, and plug it into your monitor, click the on button, and it will tell you exactly what signal is coming out of there, whether it's 1080p or 1080i, or and then it will also give you an example of having your picture. And then I have my other accessories that I use for recording that's inside of there. And then I have up top is my power conditioner by Furman. And it also gives me a nice little tabletop to put a controller, or I'll also use my Sumo, made by Atomos, which is a 19-inch recording monitor. And the benefits to using the Sumo 19-inch recording monitor is that I have the new firmware that I've downloaded to it that enables me to do a four ISO records. Plus, if you'd like, you could use it as a touchscreen switch. So you could switch your 4 different inputs, and so record all 4 of those inputs plus your program record as well. So, I mean, it's an all-in-one switcher recorder monitor. Like, what the heck are they going to think of next? Like, it's so.
And it's a gorgeous monitor too. It's got a really good picture.
I got it. It's in the other room, but whatever.
So we were talking about our favorite PTZ shots. Mine was, we used it for Indie Bandits Day and put it right above the drummer. We couldn't really get a camera into the drummer to get good close-ups on him and stuff like that. And I was controlling the PTZ camera, and I loved the hell out of that shot. Like, it was over his head, and you just got the drummer wailing on everything. And it was just like the perfect shots ever with the LED wall in the background and everything. It was awesome.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta add to that too, real quick. So where the shot was on the same truss as the lighting, so the lighting was hitting all the symbols and all that, and they had the guy, like, we told him about the shot, and he's like, "Oh, I got you, don't worry about it." And he was like the second or third band that night, and he shined all of his up really, really shiny. So all the colors were reflecting on it. Every time he hit one of them, the lights would just flicker. Dude, it was a beautiful shot. It was a beautiful shot.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and the PTZs definitely were, they killed it on that shot. It looked so good.
Hey, also in the bubble too, the only way that we were able to get, I was the camera operator for one of the camera operators. There was many of us there, but I was doing the pregame and postgame press conferences. So the only way that we're able to even get get communication with them was using PTZs that were ran back, fiber lined all the way back to our international broadcast trailer, and then they would put on, so they would have a C stand, and then on that C stand they would have the PTZ on top of that, and then they would have an arm that would connect a Rode shotgun mic. So then you're able to get the audio and the video. And they didn't have like a preview monitor, but we were able to contact over the phone with whoever the technician was to make sure they had the right shot. But it was wild, like being on the NBA crew for that bubble experience, because everything was like remote production. They had a slider, a remote operated slider that was the length of the court, and you guys probably all saw the shots. So it was basically like it's made by Stanton. So they take a Jimmy Jib head basically, and they put it on a slider. And so the slider itself is just aluminum bars with like a car that's driven by a rope system, and that's driven by one operator. And then on top of that, they have the Stanton head, like a Jimmy Jib head, that is remotely controlled by another operator. So one operator just moving the car up and down, and the other operator has control of how the camera is moving back and forth, and the zoom control as well. But that particular unit, they put a box broadcast camera on it. So what's that, like a model name for, like, Jeff, like what, for one of those multi-purpose box?
Ours are the Panasonic UB300s.
Yeah, the UB300s. Those, I believe those are the 4K models as well.
That's right.
I've been looking those up, and those are pretty awesome. I think they're like 24 grand or so.
$23.99.95.
If you know Jeff. Then those, and they would just put a standard broadcast lens on it, and they have a motor control that can connect into the gear, the little, the little things on the side. And anyways, it was really, it was remarkable getting to get firsthand, like seeing all this stuff, you know, hanging out with these guys that were, you know, engineering this stuff. And that was the first time I believe that they've used it on the NBA gig. And they want us, that particular company, NEP, wants to, you know, start selling that shot to, you know, US Open, you know, you just, you know, baseball, like just go down the line because it gave it like a cinematic look. Like it was just something that nobody's ever seen before. And I loved it.
Jeff, you better go buy 4.
Actually, I've been prototyping a version.
Sounds like he already has 4 by that laugh.
Well, I mean, we have the pan heads already, so it's just a matter of working it out. It's a aluminum track and stuff. We got some quotes from them, and they sent me pictures of the prototypes. I'm like, that's it for that much, and then started prototyping because it really is simple. It's just a slider. So it's aluminum track 80/20, which is very available. And so we put that together, and I've been testing around with it and stuff. I'm not ready to put it out on a show production, but the main thing is I need length. I want something that's like 40 feet long so I could go across the back of a tennis court. So that's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
What, Omar?
Omar, you got something?
Yes, sorry to take everybody away for a quick. I just want to give the audience a reminder on Zoom and on Facebook. We're at that 30-minute mark. If we've missed a question or haven't answered a question, or you still have one that you're hesitant to ask, please go ahead and do so now. We're getting to that round table session here. We're going to try to end tonight at 9 o'clock. I know everybody's got a busy time, and we wanted to be a little over last time, but I want to try to end it on time tonight. So again, we have 30 more minutes left on the clock. If you guys have a question we haven't answered yet or that we missed, please re-comment it down at the bottom here. If you guys are hesitant to ask one, please go and ask it. As you see, this is a live Q&A. Tons of knowledge here, tons of great people here sharing it, you know, doing what we do best, right? Growing together. So please ask your questions, 30 more minutes. My one to you, Kelly, is can you tell us something at the bubble that you might have learned from somebody from being out there and working with all these other guys in a tight scenario where you guys are working remotely, but you're all there together and you're kind of being able to communicate and talk and chit chat about different things and what's going on. Was there anything you stumbled on? You're like, oh shit, that's a really cool way of doing things that maybe you weren't doing before.
Well, it was nice to know that there was another way to using like the remote cameras, which was and getting like a greater quality of them, you know, which is just using a regular broadcast camera on a remote moving head. So that was one big key takeaway that I took out of the bubble. Another one is just, you know, maybe not specifically just towards the bubble, but just using all remote cameras. You got to pay attention. You know, you got to like be making sure that you're like, if somebody leaves your frame, you can't just like peek over the side of your viewfinder and like see them again, you know? So whenever I was tracking a player on the court, in the practice court, and they left my frame, you know, the producer's just like, hey man, you know, what the heck? And and they're basically trying to get that particular piece of B-roll so they can supply it for ESPN to show as part of their content as they're talking about that player, and they show a little bit of B-roll of that person practicing. So if that person leaves your frame because you weren't paying attention, you know, kind of seems innocent at the time, but hey, now that can't be used, and the reason why you're hired is for that particular purpose, is to provide that content. So, you know, even though that your hands are not physically on a tripod, you still need to engage yourself into remembering, like, you know, I got to take this seriously. Maybe I just got to remind myself to take it seriously. Other people may take it more seriously than I do, but you know, you get to talking or you get distracted, and it's really easy to get distracted when you're just looking at a controller itself and just a screen, and you don't physically have the gear in your hands, or traditional gear in your hands. So that's just something I mean, maybe it doesn't seem as important, but it was just a key takeaway for me, was like, hey, we're working with the big leagues now, you know, the big dogs. So, you know, time to, you know, put the phone in the backpack and zip it up and not even think about it. I mean, I'm sure that's just something we all do on shows anyways, but, you know, it's just real easy to get in the weeds with remote cameras.
I always tell producers it's like flying a submarine. You can only see out of the little peephole. Yeah, and if you can't see it in the camera, you don't know where it's at. You don't know which direction it is sometimes. And so it definitely takes a different mindset.
Brent, what you got?
Sorry, so how are we finding shot quality of movement-wise versus a fluid head tripod? Are we seeing problems with the stepper motors at all, or any jittery with these newer cameras, or does it look as smooth as if somebody had a nice tripod on the camera?
You get what you pay for. You 100% get what you pay for.
Yeah, you do. There is a little bit of a learning curve on initializing the movement, of the controller, because like I said, there is a bit of a delay whenever you first press that joystick, and then you'll see it on the camera itself. But if you can, just get yourself as familiar as possible by hands-on, like have the controller in your hand, signing up for a hands-on training course or something to really get you involved into getting the comfortability of that little bit of delay. It's like I said, it's like a matter of the man understanding the machine, when it comes to these. It's just the nature of like where we're at in technology right now. Hopefully we'll reach a point where it's like immediate, whenever you're starting a movement though, you want to start slow. And then once that train starts rolling, then you're you're a little safer when it comes to, quicker movements. But, you bring that joystick all the way to the left, trying to get your camera to pan to the left quicker, and it's going to go whoop, and you're going to be like upset,
Iris, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, just curious. Backing up to talking about lighting and LED lighting and the changes in the lighting technology. Color temperature. LEDs don't have the same color temperature as traditional lighting. So is there a compensation for that? I mean, you don't gel anymore. You do a lighting setting. So if your LD is not paying attention to color for camera, how much leeway you have for compensation?
Great point. That was something that I didn't think about mentioning tonight, but that is a pretty important piece of information. I think whenever I'm using those, they're like Parnell LED lights or whatever, they have like a wider portion on the lens part.
Yeah, the Parkans.
Yeah, those don't seem to give me the amount of light that I love, but they still work. But yeah, as you kind of have to keep the color temperature like as whatever it makes them the brightest as possible, which is usually like a cooler temperature, I've noticed. And then just kind of like balancing between the color temperature of what the lighting director can give you and then a proper white balance. But any of those LED Lecos, those bad boys are powerful, and I've never had any issues with drop-offs in color or problems with using they're not traditional. Just the LED Lecos. I'm not sure what the exact name for them is.
Basically LED, source for LEDs, lusters or whatever,
LED.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, just a problem just because the Parnells just don't put out as much light as I'd like. I like the light from the Leco instead.
I have a question for Kelly.
Yes.
You mentioned before that you kind of do your best work when you have free reign over what images you're going to grab. But I'm interested to know because as an account manager, I typically have to sell a camera caller, like someone who's going to watch what everyone else is picking up and tell them, okay, I want to do this. And then they do the switching and they decide what goes live. So are you kind of an all-in-one package, or do you typically get paired with someone who would be calling shots for you?
So typically I'd say that maybe the reason why I become the only person in that position might be based upon budget. But I have been also in situations where there is somebody who's sitting right next to me and they're just telling me, which cameras to switch to. And I've got no problem with either. I don't mind, I guess, when it comes to somebody picking the shots, but sometimes whenever I release the control of how that shot is shot, is something I like to kind of keep to I like to hold that control. Like I don't mind the director telling me what they want, but I like to be the person to give it to them. It just depends on I think that just like the particular the movements, you know, of the camera, of the controller is just like the quality of those movements are based upon the experience of that operator, you know, and that's just the reason why. But if I can trust somebody, you know, my brother, we've worked together on many gigs, and I've got no problem, you know, setting his, putting, you know, two PTZs on his controller, having 3 PTZs on my controller, and both of us are just, you know, I just, hey bro, give me the, you know, give me the person on the right, give me the person on the left, whatever, just track them, you know, and then I can just free reign, cut back and forth. But it's mainly once I have faith in that particular operator, that kind of need for control goes away. But it's if somebody can just understand, it's not so much because I'm a control freak, it's just mostly because I know the product that needs to be presented, you know, and unless if you like, I'll give you control, but you better be right, you know, like don't make a wrong call. And that's the only reason why.
And camera operators can still be sort of an art form, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The camera operator himself or operating the camera?
Well, both, really.
I've seen many, what I love about camera operators is they're all, you know, you get us together on a crew and it's just like a group of creatives and we're just like, you know, bouncing off shots with each other. We all have, you know, ideas that we've been thinking or considering, but especially when we're talking like camera language itself, it's like, I don't know. It's just, I just love it. You know, just being around people that speak the same language, creatively. So
Kelly, I just want to, you know, we had a couple questions left now that we're kind of, at this point where we're all, discussing, somebody very early on, Raymond, from the Zoom side had asked about Dave's, PTZ. Dave had mentioned he's using a PTZ tonight. He asked if there was a picture of it. Dave, do you have any way to show us what you got? And is it connected to Zoom video, or did you have to do something? Or do you have to do an install? I'm not sure what he means by that, but or install a different piece of software. So how do you have that connected? And if you have a picture of it, stand by. Let me get that spotlighted for everyone to see. Stand by 1 sec. He's showing us his phone at the moment.
Oh,
it's almost focused.
Cool.
Had to hit the autofocus button on the controller. So if you see in the back corner, there's the PTZ camera, the same one he was showing us.
Is that a teleprompter in front of it?
Yeah, and then a little teleprompter in front of it that's mirroring my laptop so I can look right at you guys. And there's the controller just to the side there next to my stapler. So yeah, it's really handy because you know, it's behind the teleprompter. And but from there I can move it all around.
But now,
and then hit a preset and take it right back.
What was the particular question though, Ed?
So they just wanted to see a picture of it because Dave mentioned he was using one, and they wanted to see what the setup was. And if you, how do you have it connected to Zoom video? Did you have to install some other software, or what's the signal flow on that?
So what I'm doing is I'm running it into an Aja audio embedder so that I can take my mic into the SDI signal, and then I'm hitting an Aja UTAP SDI that shows up as a video source in Zoom, and the audio source shows up in Zoom too, the embedded audio.
That's cool.
So it's just one USB in for audio and video.
And because you're using it with a teleprompter, you kind of are limited to how much you can really pan around. And
yeah, I would love to go wider, but you see right there.
Yeah.
I'm in the little tunnel.
You know what? If you got a little mask that came around here, you could have like a little heart.
Right.
It'd be
heart
cute.
wipe. Need the old the video toaster. I wish I could share another screen thing. Like you mentioned, LED walls. We do a lot of corporate with huge LED walls, and I created this pipe rig. All my PTZs have projector mounts on the bottom of them. So you see in churches a lot, they'll hang a pipe down from the ceiling and do a projector on it. And I found the projector mounts all have X and Y tilt adjustments, so you can get the projector angle just right. And so I mounted those, and they thread right into pipe. So I can thread right onto the top of a piece of Schedule 40 pipe and just get a regular, big, heavy lighting base and throw it on the top of the pipe or hang it down from a truss on pipe. And like you saw in that one stand, if you could see with the flickering screen share. And then you have X and Y axis control. You can get your left, right tilt, right, and your forward back tilt. And the best practice I have for that is I try to line up that mount so it's straight ahead at the stage, and I'll zoom into something with a vertical, and I'll make sure the left and right is right, and then I'll pan the camera off to the side, and hopefully I've got a gap in the air wall or a column or something, and I'll get the forward and back lined up, and that way everything in between is always level. So that's my best practice as far as leveling out the things, the camera heads. On one of the screen shares I didn't get to was we do a pipe rig out over the top of the LED wall, and it's about 12, 14 feet up in the air, and we'll shoot the Q&A in the audience. So we'll have to gain up to 36 dB. And if my lighting guy's good, he'll hit the person with a moving light, and we'll get the Q&A in the IMAG. But the other benefit of that is when the show caller says, is the clicker on the podium? We can just shoot the PTZ right at the top of the lectern and see whether the clicker's there, things like that.
Yeah, I've used the PTZs to look at the display, like a warning display, like on a light that's hanging from a truss, mover or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So, and obviously there's no way that you can see that unless you have binoculars and it's dark. So you probably still can't see it. But does anybody here have any experience with using the Autopod system? That it's like a column that moves up and down, and you can put a PTZ on it and they market it as getting jib-like movements out of a PTZ.
Not the actual Autopod itself, but the same company that I use is Mark Roberts Motion Control, and I demoed one of their it's just a telescope and post, and it worked pretty well. Honestly, it's pretty cool to be able to use it, like if you're doing a lot of concerts and stuff, and you needed to be able to get up out of the way. But it was a price point that killed me. It's like $25,000 for it. And it was tied into their control system, so you could actually move it also dolly it, because it was on a track at the time when I demoed it, which was insane, just actually insane.
Is that tuning point or techno point?
No, that's more the cinema style, I think, is what you're thinking of. Mark Roberts Motion is actually they are a little bit more on the cinema side, but I use their broadcast side, and that's one of theirs is their telescoping post. I've got something to show here in a second, and I'll find a link.
Nikon just buy that company? Didn't Nikon just purchase Mark Roberts?
Or as they call it, Nikon. Yes, but yes, it's a Nikon company now.
So Jeff, you mentioned you have something to show. If you
yeah, sure.
If you don't mind, let's take
let's see if I can get this up quick.
I haven't heard Nikon in forever.
Yes.
I love Nikons.
All right, can you see it now or no?
Dude, that's awesome. Is that
this
iPad?
This is a Surface on the top, and this is their pan bar setup. And so we have one of these. It's a cartony head that has encoders built into it, and then you basically move this and it moves. And so I'll show you it in action here. If I could get it full screen, there we go. So this is one of my employees that was running it. So you can see us following. The camera moves. The base moves the camera base moves as he's following the player around. Mm-hmm. He's moving the head just like he was shooting the camera, like sitting right behind the camera.
Oh, that's awesome. And then the motion that's controlled, like the head that the camera is the camera end. That is just a robotic moving tripod, basically, that has tilting activated, and I guess
it's a pan tilt head.
Yeah,
where it's not an all-in-one. Though now they had some smaller ones that we bought. They're called the Whisper, which worked really well. But the problem that I had with them is they used you were talking about AJA earlier.
Yeah.
AJA's cameras suck. They were terrible, and the RovoCam, and so they used only that one camera. So it made it to about, so it was like a $2,500 camera, the little box camera that went on the Whisper head, which was like $5,000. So it made a really good alternative to and it was 4K. So I bought those instead of, because the UE 150s weren't out at the time.
Yeah.
It was 2-3 years before they came out. And I bought that as a step up from the HE 130s that we had. So it had a bigger chip. It got a little bit better, but they used HD Base T, which is kind of sort of like a network. It's a RJ45 connector, does power control and video, but it's just not reliable for live production like we were doing it. And so didn't turn out to be really good. But anyway, now since they don't have anything lower than their pan tilt heads, which I have, which are about 12,000 US each, plus the cameras and the lenses and all. What we ended up doing is they're embracing the UE 150. So they're embracing their software to control other people's camera now, which their software is really, really good. And so the software, along with like I keep on my desk, I have one of these controllers. This is what I control mine with, which is one of the smaller controllers. But their software and combination of that's what makes a difference. I've actually got some pictures, some video actually here. Let me
show us.
And so this is let me turn the audio off so I don't have to hear that in my ears here. And see, share screen again. So this guy here this is one of our, before we went to the box cameras. So this was, and you can see the head, how big it is. That's a full-size shoulder-mounted 370. I think it's a Panasonic 370. And then you can see here on the left side, those are gear motors that are driving the lens. So this is before we had our nice cameras like we do now, which the lens itself has the servos inside. And so we talk directly to the lens. So we don't ever have to worry about the focus getting off. Like what we had with problems with this camera is the focus would jump or the zoom would jump because we'd be going so fast. And that was just horrendous, having to go out and re-zero it out and set it.
Yeah. Is that because of the cables were yanking, or was it just the fact that there's actual physical moving?
So much power.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were shooting tennis when we were doing sports. So for us, it was always moving fast. I mean, it was never crawls and stuff like that, hardly ever. But now, since we moved up to the bigger cameras, which are the UE 150s, those guys, it's all built into the lens, and that made just a tremendous difference for setting up. But I've always wanted to do those telescoping posts, because there's a lot of times we may have people that are getting in our way.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest issue I have in sports, in live cameras. They see a person back there, at least a person could throw a water bottle at them or something. So we've talked about it, and I think we kind of got away from tasers attached to them, but maybe at least a water gun or maybe a paintball. We're kind of mixed up on what we want to do, but those ball kids especially, man, they're always in our shots, and that was one of the things I'd like to have, that telescoping post,
paintball guns
to
that
be
I
able
could
to
donate
just
to that cause.
jump it up and get it over the top. I like airsoft too. My son's really big into it also. But
20 of them.
Yeah, but that's the one thing I'd love to have, is that arm, so I could jump it up and get it out of the way. Or if there's just a whole bunch of people in the way on the court, we could get it out of the way, or get different shots and stuff too, for sure.
Actually, I like it because I'm short. I'm only 5'2". So me, a camera, and people, it's way above my head for me to get over people. So I like the telescopic idea that I could be at my height and just actually get a camera working.
And that kind of leads me into something else too that I wanted to mention. Whenever you're placing the PTZ cameras and you're using them as a traditional shot, like a traditional camera shot, you need to still remember your eye line of sight needs to be that same level with the camera in the back. So just because they can hang from the truss doesn't mean they should be hanging from the truss. You want to make sure that the look is still the similar look that you had before. You're just using just a different way to execute that same mission. So
I just want to jump in there, guys. Sorry, we're like at the last 10 minutes here. I wanted to, close off on a high note right now. Jeff dropped some awesome information here. Kelly's been dropping bombs all day. I hope you guys have been listening, tuning in. He's giving you guys a lot of good information, showing you about the consoles. We've asked a lot of good questions between, ENG cameras and LED walls, between some lighting information from Iris, who asked us a couple questions about that. We've gotten some good feedback from Kelly, and I believe Pepper was the assistant who's there helping you.
Yeah.
Between your setup for how you do things on the go versus how you're doing things when you're on side side. We got some good insights about the bubble you were just in. I wanted to real quick just jump on this last little thing real quick. You had mentioned earlier that there's a difference between, like knowing what these things do and actually getting the hands-on for them. At present, because of everything going on, I don't know of any courses going on that are available out there. Are you aware of anything on your end that might be coming out in the future that these guys might be able to get some hands-on with these PTZ stuff to now just take what you've taught them here, or take this as maybe the intro course to the next course for themselves? Do you know of anything out there that's available for anybody to get some hands-on with PTZ cameras?
Yes, so I am offering a hands-on training class. I would like to see how many participants who would like to join, and then I would like to arrange. I have the venue already in place. It's a venue that's here in Lakeland. They do live productions, improv comedy night, on Fridays. They have lots of events, local music bands and such. But it's a place downtown that we could safely execute a hands-on training course. There's enough room for social distancing and, just to make sure everybody is safe. And, we can all, wear masks, wash our hands, just go down the list of the ways that we need to be COVID compliant. But that is something that I can offer here in Lakeland. If anybody's willing to take the drive here to Central Florida, Lakeland. So if you're in Orlando or Tampa, probably one of, most likely a technician from those two cities. If you're from Miami, sure, come on down. I don't have a way, if you have a place to stay nearby, that would be convenient. But it would probably be just a 4-hour course, maybe middle of the day. So, maybe starting at 11 and ending at 2 p.m. But that is a course that I would like to arrange. I just need to make sure I have enough participants that would like to be there. So maybe Omar could just, keep you guys updated. Well, I'll just keep Omar updated, and Omar will keep the community updated on when that will take place. But that is something that I'd like to offer. I want to get everybody's hands on the controller itself, because there's a lot that we didn't cover tonight. There's the on-screen display menu, which basically opens up another level of functionality to the controller. You can do the preset speeds. You can control how fast you needed to hit that preset. You can control, a better, like there's a color matrix that's in the camera, in the on-screen display menu. So you can tell it exactly how much magenta you want it to have, how much yellow, green, blue, which is an awesome part about using the Panasonic controllers, is that it has the color matrix, which I believe that Sony doesn't have it, or at least they didn't have it in the past. So super important to getting, camera matching, especially if you're matching a PTZ with a regular broadcast camera, because there is going to be a difference in quality. So you want to make sure that your colors are lined up, to where there's not a huge change in the look of the shot. But anyways, to get back to talking about the hands-on training course, just we'll keep in touch with you. I'd like to offer that training course before the first of the year. If it makes it till after the first year, that's totally fine. It's just basically based upon multiple people's availability. But that is something I'm 100% willing to put together for us. And I also have a great venue with a great stage, a lighting, the whole 9 yards. So it'll be like you're at a regular gig, so it's the same feel and everything. And we can have people on stage doing, panels, like a panel discussion. We can have, you practicing tracking a subject back and forth to really get the feel of the pan, tilt, and zoom controls. Like I had explained, it's a matter of you really getting comfortable with that device, because it doesn't exactly work the way you would think that it works. It's not a joystick controller. It's a separate way to control. So Anyways, so yes, just reach out to me, either DM me personally. I'm sure you can find me on the Facebook group. Just click on my name and hit personal message, or reach out to Omar, and he'll let me know who's interested. But I know that Robert Schumacher, who's not here tonight, he'll be watching this later tomorrow. I believe he's on a gig right now, but he is very interested in the hands-on training course. Iris has expressed interest as well to a hands-on training course. So there's, it's something that I feel like is vital to your success if you want to be an expert at remote operated cameras.
No, and definitely, Kelly, I appreciate that. I'd be honored to whenever you're ready for me, man. I'll make an event. I'll post it out to the community. You guys can follow us. If you're interested in it right now, leave some comments down in the comments section there, so that we can come back and see you, get your names. We'll put you on a list and get you the information as soon as it comes out a little bit more. I want to real quick. We got about 2 minutes left on the clock. I want to thank one of our newer members here, Keith, and I'm going to say your last name wrong. Keith Nadaski.
Oh, you lose. No, Nachodsky.
I lost. Nachodsky. Yeah, see. Man, thank you for showing up to our show, man. I really appreciate it. Really glad to have you here. As always, pleasure to have Jeep Kesley, Dave Nah, Brent Chandler, Iris. It's good to see you always. Deeza Cameron. Chris is always here with us. He's got to be here. He's forced to. Dan Hartley, man, it's good to see you. I love the background, bro. That's a really cool background you got there. I'm sure there's tons of stories to have with that. But real quick, Kelly, before we let you go, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and talking with us and giving all this knowledge and experience to the guys, and a fantastic opportunity for them to go out and really get hands-on with this gear that they just learned about. So before I kind of close it down, I'd like to let you have your, the last say for the night before we let Ed and Chris do their thing. This will be my last thing for the night. So again, everybody who's here, thank you so much. Everybody on Facebook land, thank you for being here, and look forward to next week. So that's all I have, and I'll let Kelly, you close us out with some final words.
Well, thank you very much, Omar. I really appreciate the invite here. This makes me more confident with my own abilities, knowing that I can, teach, and you learn more whenever you teach, because people have questions that you may need to research more, even though you've already done a decent amount of research on your own. But you never know what you don't know. And also the mission of this training is to make sure that each individual can add this skill to their, to the their quiver of arrows, to go out there and attack in the field, because we want to create sustainability with this industry. And through education and through learning and through training, you can create a sustainable business for yourself just through the power of knowledge. And that's very important. So just each person should remember that going forward, whether you take my class or you just keep on following the AV Educate page, you will find that this can positively affect your life and affect the quality of life of your family too, as long as you're motivated and interested. So, but that's it for me for tonight. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to be on here tonight, and I just appreciate everybody's help along the way, even the folks that aren't on the call tonight too. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So, Bodhi, I'll let you do your thing. I know you got a special announcement, as always, every night. And then, Ed, I'll let you close us out, and we'll be done for the night.
Yes, my special thing is it's for the kids. Anything I do, as most of you know, I am a Twitch streamer. I am posting these in the chats. I am a Twitch streamer. Everything I do is for the kids. When you come into my chat, there's a couple little links that you'll click on, and you can help donate to the local hospital at me to fund bills, medical bills, anything like that the kids need, medications, time stay, help provide money to the parents that are taking off to be with these kids and things like that as well. So it all goes to local charities, as well as if you donate anything to me personally through my personal PayPal on my page. I am working on buying Nintendo Switches for those kids as well. I think we have, what do we have? One family right now? That your sister has. Her sister works at the local hospital that we actually have. There's one family that they're promoting for Christmas to get donations and stuff for. So we have already one family lined up for a Nintendo Switch. Thank you.
All right, Ed, I think that's your cue to wrap us up for the night. Give us the farewell.
Sorry, my Facebook at some point froze, and it just came back, and then I was hearing things on the delay, so I apologize. that I was just a deer in headlights for a moment there. So yes, no, Kelly, thank you so much for this great talk, for leading us through this. Thanks everybody who contributed to this talk, Dave and Jeff. I want to take a moment real quick to talk about next week. So next week we have Andy Broughton, who's normally on our panel. He's not here tonight, but he developed some software called Remotely Possible, and we are going to feature that software. So we kind of did a little demo of this, a few weeks ago. I know this is something that Jeff Keithley's been interested in, where you can control one Yamaha console from another Yamaha console over the internet. Totally insane. This thing's going to be awesome. I'm super excited. I'm on the beta testing team, along with a few amazing audio people. It's going to be really cool. So I'm very excited for it. That's next Monday, the 14th. I'm going to drop, now that Facebook has stopped freezing on me, I'm dropping a link to the event page in the chat. So please come check us out next Monday, same bat time, same bat channel. We'll be here. I'm curious, Omar, what do we got on Wednesday for the podcast edition? Do we have something coming up?
So we do. We're going to have a small talk between a business owner, Ricardo. Let me double check I'm saying his name right, because I'm horrible with names. Ricardo Hicks will be coming on with us this Wednesday night to talk about business and how he transitioned from doing, corporate events and transition to this new hybrid event series, and how he can help give guys advice and information for how they can transition themselves, if they run themselves properly, to come into this world and start doing some more hybrid events and doing some more Zoom stuff and being a remote operator that maybe he can use or other people can use down in the future.
That's awesome.
I just add real quick, just while I have a second. The whole point of these is, AV Tech Talks is kind of the hard skill sets, and the podcast is those soft skill sets. So we're trying to knock out both of these things for you guys while we have time. Because once the season gets rolling again, which it's starting to little by little right now, everybody on here is busy. Both of those skills will come in handy for you. And I'm hoping that these archive videos that you see on Facebook, in the groups and in the Facebook page side, you guys can kind of refer to these when you have some downtime to just freshen yourselves up for whatever's coming up out there and get yourselves ready to go and to kill it as we get back into season.
Great. Omar, it's great what you're doing on the podcast. I've been on there a couple times. It's always really great discussions. So guys, tune into that on Wednesday night. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank the DVE store for their continued support of AV Tech Talks. Some of you guys out in Facebook land might have noticed that the resolution did change mid-show, and I had to just refresh my camera. That's one of the things. But DVE Store gives us a little bit of a bump of resolution here in Zoom, so we appreciate their support. Go check out their team. Guy Cochran is a great guy. His team is super knowledgeable, super helpful, and they sell a ton of PTZ cameras. So go take a look at their PTZs and support them for helping to support us. And with that, I'm going to say let's close it out for the night. Again, thanks everybody on the panel. I know Omar went through everybody. We can wave good night to Facebook, and we will see you guys all next week. Have a great night.